Have you ever looked at one of those massive, globe-spanning companies and wondered, how does it actually work on the inside? It's not just one big machine. It's more like a sprawling family, almost like its own nation-state with a private economy, where different parts are constantly buying and selling from each other. Well, today we're going to decode the secret language of those family deals.
And to make this real, we're going to pull back the curtain on two absolute titans, Tanaga National Barad and Sime Darby. They operate in completely different worlds, but they both have to deal with the exact same challenge, managing a huge, complex corporate family.
So, first up, you've got TNB. Now, this isn't just another company. It's literally the backbone of a country's entire infrastructure. From these gigantic hydroelectric dams all the way to the power lines that connect to your home, its scale is, well, it's honestly kind of hard to wrap your head around.
Let's try to put a number on that scale. In 2024, TNB's revenue was over 56 billion ringgit. That is the financial engine that keeps the lights on for an entire nation.
But its reach is what's really impressive. We're talking over 11 million customers. That's millions of families, businesses, hospitals. It really shows you the kind of impact a corporate giant like this has on everyday life.
Okay, now let's switch gears completely and talk about our other titan, Sime Darby. They're not powering your lights, but they're a huge force in getting cars on the road and putting heavy machinery to work in mines and on construction sites all across the Asia-Pacific.
And just think about the sheer human scale of an operation like this. Over 31,000 employees. That's basically the population of a small city, all working under one massive corporate banner. And the value of their empire? A staggering 51.8 billion ringgit in total assets. So the point is, both of these companies are incredibly complex, sprawling families. So how do they actually function?
Well, it all starts with a pretty simple structure. You've got a parent company right at the top, and it owns a whole bunch of smaller, more specialized companies called subsidiaries. You can think of it like a family tree, but for a global business.
And this is where it gets really, really interesting. What happens when one part of the family sells something to another part? An engine plant sells to a car assembly line. A power plant sells electricity to the distribution grid. Who sets the price? And how do you make sure it's all fair?
Before we dive in, let's just make sure we're on the same page. A subsidiary isn't just a partner. It's a company where the parent owns more than half the shares. That gives it total control. The parent is the one calling the shots. And because the parent calls all the shots, you can't just let them sell assets to a subsidiary for, say, $1 just to move profits around or hide a loss. For investors, that would be complete chaos. So there's a special accounting rulebook that's designed specifically to keep these internal intra-group deals fair and totally transparent.
This brings us to the heart of the matter. On one side, you have the contractual price. That's the special family discount. But on the other, you have the fair value. That's what anyone else would have to pay for it on the open market. And as you can probably guess, those two numbers are very rarely the same. So what happens when that family price is a sweetheart deal, way lower than the market price? The rulebook has this really clever solution. It says you have to treat that discount, that difference in value, like a gift from the parent to the subsidiary. It's actually called an equity contribution, and you have to account for it.
I know this can feel a little abstract, so let's walk through a super simple example to make it crystal clear. Imagine a parent company is selling a big piece of equipment to one of its subsidiaries.
Okay, so out on the open market, this piece of equipment is worth a solid $3 million. That's its objective fair value, period.
But hey, this is a family deal, so the parent decides to sell it to its subsidiary for only $2 million. A pretty nice discount, right? That leaves us with a gap, a $1 million gap. This is the off-market part of the deal. It's the value that was transferred without any actual cash changing hands. And this is the number that those accounting rules are totally obsessed with.
This chart just shows it perfectly. You see that higher fair value and then the lower sales price. The entire point of this rulebook is to make sure that $1 million gap doesn't just disappear into thin air.
So here's how the rulebook fixes it, in 3 simple steps. First, the subsidiary, the one that got the deal, has to record the equipment on its books at the full $3 million fair value. No funny business. Second, the parent company records that $1 million gift as an additional investment in the subsidiary. And what's the result? Both companies' financial statements now show the true economic reality of what happened, not just the cash that moved around. Okay, so you might be thinking, this is just some clever accounting trick. But why should you, an investor, an employee, or just a regular citizen, actually care about any of this? Well, it's because who owns these corporate titans really, really matters.
Just take a look at who actually owns TNB. It's not one person, it's massive funds like Khazanah, the Employees Provident Fund, and PNB. These are the institutions that manage the sovereign wealth and the retirement savings for millions of ordinary people. So when we talk about protecting a company's value, we're actually talking about protecting their money.
And this isn't just some vague best practice companies follow. It is hardwired right into the international accounting standards. The rule is crystal clear. Any deal that happens because you're the owner gets special treatment. It has to go directly into the equity statements, making sure it's out in the open and can't be used to play games with the profit numbers.
So let's just boil it all down. This one little rule does 4 incredibly important things. It guarantees financial transparency. It stops companies from hiding losses or faking profits. It gives investors a true and fair picture of how healthy the company is. And most importantly, it protects the value for all the shareholders, not just the parent company.
These rules give us a vital framework for keeping things clear, but it does leave us with one last, pretty fascinating question to think about. When a corporate family isn't just a parent with a few kids, but a massive global network with hundreds of different companies all doing business with each other, what does true financial transparency even look like then? It's a big question.